All of you. Carol, is this typical Labour, always got the hand out or not?
Typically, one set of principles for Labour, another set for the rest of us. This woman is a towering hypocrite. She talks about the Tories not tackling the housing crisis, and she's part of it. Filling her boots, courtesy of the state, on 90 grand, as you say, nearly 90 grand, because she has her MP salary, plus she has the £4,300, I think it is, the London, what they call London waiting. This is a case, if there's 23,000 people in your area, desperate people on the housing list, and she knows that, she absolutely knows that, it's a matter of morals, a matter of principle, a matter of duty to give up that flat. She admitted 2 years ago she doesn't really need it. She said very glibly, I don't really need this now. So why is she still in it? Well, probably because it's, as you say, it's been paid for by the state. It's a nice riverside property. She maybe couldn't afford to pay for that by herself. But it's astonishing that she has got away with this. If this was a Tory MP living in a council flat, place, whatever it is, there would be hell to pay. Hell. And there's also questions raised over how she got this flat in the first place. That she was a former housing advisor in the borough, and it was said at the time that she had an understanding of how the system worked. So that ought to be looked into as well. Okay. But shocking.
All right, I'll come back to you. Mike, this is a pretty bad look, is it not? I mean, is this not a window into benefits Britain that awaits us if we have a Starmer government?
I mean, she's exactly right in saying that the government have no solution to the housing crisis. We haven't built enough housing for the last 13 years. Lots of people can't get on the housing ladder, and that's not just in London, it's across Britain. There's nowhere near enough social housing, as evidenced by the fact that in Tower Hamlets there's 20,000 people on the waiting list.
She's clogging it out.
And that, again, is in every other part of Britain as well. It is odd, I admit, that an MP is living in social housing, but it's important to say that we are not paying for it. She is paying rent on that property, and that rent will go to the social housing provider, whether that's the council or whether that's the...
It's a subsidised rent, Mike.
It is a subsidised rate, but also she's not receiving benefits either. So, and you said both of those things in your introduction. So she's paying for it out of her salary. We are not paying.
But that is a benefit.
No, it isn't.
That is a benefit.
She has a job.
Is a benefit.
She has a job, and she gets paid for that job. Out of her payment, she is paying rent on that property, as everybody else in social housing.
She has said she doesn't need it. She said that she shouldn't really.
She did say that. I mean, one thing that you guys haven't mentioned this evening, and you may not know this, I fully understand. She is currently an MP, but she's been what's called deselected by her local Labour Party. So she's got to go through a reselection process. I can't quite remember the reasons for that. So she may be out of a job in 6 months' time when we get to the general election. Yeah. So she's probably sitting there right now thinking, I'm going to face reselection. I might need to live in this house.
Why has she been deselected?
I can't actually remember the reasons why.
Belinda, your views on this? I mean, I think most people will find it sticky in the craw somewhat that somebody on just shy, reportedly, of £90,000 a year could have any kind of leg up whatsoever.
I'd love to be on 90 grand a year and have subsidised rent. I mean, so would everyone. I think it is a moral issue, as Carol said. I also think, I mean, God forbid socialists ever practice what they preach, but to be standing there as if you're for the working class, the working people, the poor, and what I see as abusing the taxpayer, because it is abusing the taxpayer. It's almost like, for me, in my opinion, stealing money. I saw it going on a lot in the EU Parliament as well, as if it was just a money tree and not actually the wages of, nurses and teachers and bin men that are actually going to subsidise this highly paid MP in a council house. I think it's massive. She's like the female version of Gary Lineker. It's massively hypocritical.
I'm thinking that there's a limit to how much you can earn.
Right, well, I looked into this.
The limit is 90 grand.
In this particular borough, it is
which is shocking in itself.
Shocking, that needs to be changed.
That's shocking in itself.
I actually find that staggering, that it should be. I don't know if that's per flat or per person. If it's per flat, it should be half that. If it's per person, it should be about a third of that.
Because that's my wider point, right, really, which is, and it points at a kind of benefits Britain thing, which is that clearly, it is incredibly easy to find yourself on some form of benefits. I mean, something like 30 million people in the UK were on some form of benefit.
50-odd% are on some kind of...
But we are under a Tory government. I mean, there has to be some responsibility taken by those in power that this is allowed to happen, because people will use every loophole, every little sneaky way they can to get around the system and abuse the taxpayer if they can. They've been green-lighted. That's the reason why it benefits Britain at the moment.
You guys have a very low view of human nature and of British people.
Well, I do, at the moment.
I genuinely find that quite sad.
I think the taxpayer's being abused.
I have a much higher opinion of the British people. I don't think people are scrounged. I think people generally want to work hard and get on in life.
Well, there are 2.5 million people currently not working.
The value of benefits wages in this country has absolutely fallen off a cliff in the last 13 years.
Are you kidding? You are joking.
I mean, there was a big piece about it that on Sunday. Gordon Brown was talking about it, and the fact that poor people on benefits now, they're paying a staggering amount of their income on basic needs like energy and fuel, partly because energy and fuel prices have gone up.
50-odd% of people in this country are on some
most of those will be top-ups.
Not
but
most of those.
That is
you
because
can't just generally say most
that is
of
another
those
result of government failure. The real value of wages in this country hasn't gone up since 2006, which is a staggering indictment on the failure of this government to manage the economy properly. Which does, of course, mean that people then need to apply for benefit top-ups.
That does not mean we have a higher burden than I think since World War II anyway.
Of tax.
Of people,
yes.
but that tax is paid by people who do go out and earn money.
The vast majority of people on benefits are also working because people go out and work, but they work, but they get a low wage.
All right,
well, I can say it because it's true.
It's not
they get paid a low wage, and then they need to go on benefits.
Tell us the percentage that you think the vast majority on. We'll check it. What is the percentage you think are on working and on benefits? What is that percentage?
I can't remember the stat off the top of my head, but I'm very happy to look into it in the break.
Yeah, so am I, yeah.
All right, well, I mean, there are some stats. So 22.6 million people were claiming some form of benefits in England, Scotland and Wales as of August 2023. When it comes to universal credit, £59.8 billion a year as of October, apparently. It's expected that £14.3 billion will be spent on housing benefits, etc., etc., etc. I mean, this is a heck of a lot of money that is being paid by the more well-off in society. And it does appear to me, Belinda, that the argument to that is, we'll make them pay more. I just don't know whether or not that's actually quite ungrateful.
No, there is a real problem in this country. 18% of those able to work in the working age group and that don't have a disability, 18% of the population of Manchester are on benefits. This is not right. It is not healthy. There's so much dignity to work as well. I think throwing people on the scrap heap of never-ending benefits rather than saying, no, you've got to get a job. And you talk about wages. Well, if Labour gets in, I think inflation's going to go through the roof again because they're going to submit to all the unions.
Final quick word to you, Mike, on this. I mean, the overarching concern here is that if Labour come in, it will be a green light for anyone who fancies claiming benefits.
Well, of course it won't. I mean, far from it. I mean, what Labour will do is invest in the economy so that more jobs are created. I mean, there was something the other day, say, I can't remember what the stat was, but again, I'll look at it in the break.
That's right, yeah.
But there would have been millions more jobs had the government done a better job managing the economy and done a better job with the Brexit outcome.
All right.